Just a couple of months after the launch of the original PlayStation here in North America, we began to see sports games coming from Sony Computer Entertainment America. This was notable because we thought of most sports games coming from Electronic Arts or EA Sports. They were the dominant force in sports video games at the time, especially sports simulations. So that's where we figured that we would see games like Madden or NHL, but these games were delayed and didn't come out until later. So what we wound up seeing was NFL Game Day for the PlayStation, which blew a lot of people away and really impressed people because it was the first attempt at football from Sony, and it really came across positively. The other game was a hockey game, and it is the subject of this particular episode of Unsealed. It is 1995's NHL Face-Off with Sergei Fedorov here on the cover. This is a long box PlayStation game. These are becoming less and less common to be able to open up sealed, so I'm looking forward to opening this up. As we take a look on the back of the case, it does promise that all 26 NHL teams and all, 850 or 650 NHL players are here. And that's pretty notable to have all of those players, all of those teams. Having the CD-ROM media allowed a lot more storage space to be able to save those teams and player names. Not to mention the fact that a memory card was also used for season progress, and that was certainly pretty important. So as we take a look here, you're the left wing for the Detroit Red Wings in the Stanley Cup Finals. Game 7, overtime, face-off in your zone. Yzerman wins the drop. You break up the ice. You catch the pass on the tape. Breakaway, one-on-one with New Jersey's Martin Brodeur. Do you go top shelf or 5-hole? He pulls the trigger. Do you have the skills? Prepare yourself for NHL Face-Off, the ultimate hockey simulation, only available on PlayStation. The features include NHL season play, team management. You can make player trades or create your own players to build your own dynasty. Multiple playing perspectives, real hockey animation, fully interactive 3D environments, and real player attributes are all promised here. This game does take anywhere between 2 to 8 blocks of a memory card, so that's just about half almost if you save everything in terms of a season. And you can take a look at some of the screenshots here. This was quite impressive for 1995. The game moved pretty quickly. The game was fairly detailed, looked a bit sharper than EA's NHL games, and was quite fun to play, although there was some differences in terms of the play controls that took some getting used to. So let's go ahead and open this up. I've been sitting on this since before the end of last school year, and I was waiting for this hockey season to open it up, and we're going to be getting preseason games next week, so it is time. Let's go ahead and open this up. And thankfully, I don't need the scissors for this because this is kind of old, so the plastic is already kind of given way. So we'll start on the back here so you can see as I take this off of there. Now, this particular long box is more like the cardboard. It's not the plastic casing. So there isn't any kind of hinge here. When we open this up, and I got to be careful with this. Oh, cool. All right. So when we open this up, the disc has kind of come loose, but I expected that. This is what you see when you open up the case. You see the disc, you see the foam piece here, and you see the instruction manual, which we will get to. The disc doesn't have any fancy box art on it or anything, but it gets the job done. And then, as you can see when you open this up, that is what the spine looks like there. These were ridiculous cases. We really didn't need cases this big, but I always preferred these long box cases because I thought that they kind of drew attention to the games, much like the 3DO versions of the games did. So this is the instruction manual here, and as we take a look on the back, you can see that NFL Game Day is also advertised. So as I mentioned, these were the first 2 sports games from Sony right out of the box. Sony Interactive Sports is what the title was, and later on we wound up getting NBA Shootout as well, and I have opened that for this particular series. So when we open this up, of course, we do have the PlayStation warranty card right there, and I've talked about this warranty card on camera before, so we're not going to get into that too much. There's also some advertising here for some other important first-party and third-party games, including Battle Arena Toshinden, Mortal Kombat 3, Ridge Racer, and Twisted Metal. And I also want to draw your attention real quick before we get to talking about the game itself, is we have the tagline for the PlayStation launch period, "You are not ready." What we used to see with this was the letter U, the letter R, the word not, and then it was the letter E, but it was colored in red. So you had to kind of figure it out a little bit as "You are not ready." I loved that as much as I loved the Polygon Man mascot, which got replaced pretty quickly, but that was a mascot that I enjoyed. So let's go ahead and take a look here. This is in black and white, which is a little surprising and a little disappointing, but it doesn't take too much away, as it shows you all of the different screens. It talks about stats. There are player cards, so it's kind of like trading cards, although you don't trade them. They're like hockey cards you can take a look at. Talks about skating, passing, shooting, the basics of play here. What's interesting is that the play controls are a little bit reversed. Usually when you're talking about the PlayStation controller, the square button does the shooting, whether it's a slap shot, and wrist shot. That is your offense button. And then the cross button, and we have to use the cross button. We don't call it the X button anymore. The cross button was used for passing. But in this particular game, it's reversed. The square button passes the puck, and the cross button shoots. This does take some getting used to, I'm telling you, because when I have played this game, especially after coming off of NHL, I get confused pretty quickly. You do adapt to it after a few games, but it takes practice in order to get used to it. There's also player movement in terms of activating the player closest to the puck. You use the square button for that. And you do checking with the shoulder buttons, R1 and R2 for cross-checking and L1, L2 for poke checking. The circle button does the body checking piece, I should say. The rest of the game is fully functional in terms of gameplay modes. The season mode has the ability to trade players, sign free agents. There are playoffs here, season play. I don't know if you can see it in the picture. I'll try and make it a little bit bigger, but I do believe that the Hartford Whalers are here. I just want to look. Yep, the Hartford Whalers are playing against Buffalo there. Do miss the Whalers, living just north of Hartford myself here. So that's something that kind of takes me back a little bit. Now, I've been a hockey game fan for a while, so this was a game that I definitely got at launch for the PlayStation, and it took some getting used to. I wanted a few more features in the game, but nevertheless, it was a hockey game for the PlayStation when there really weren't any just yet, so I was happy to have this. It wasn't long before we got more hockey games. We got NHL Open Ice from Williams / Midway, which is the hockey version of NBA Jam, if you will. Then NHL 97, which was kind of NHL 98, which came out in 1997, which I've opened up on this show and is one of my favorite hockey games of all time. And we have other hockey games that we'll get to. I do have 2 sealed PlayStation hockey games that I want to open up, as well as a pretty important PlayStation 2 NHL game from EA Sports that really turned the tide when we're talking about hockey games for that particular system. I've talked in the past about the ESPN NHL 2K hockey games and how important they were and how critics had really raved about those games. But for the 2006 sports year, 2K6 versus NHL 06, this was the changing of the guard, and we'll be talking about that in a future episode. I don't want to spoil too much. So that is NHL Face-Off as we get ready for the 2019-20 NHL season. Also, want to remind you that NHL 20 is available now for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I've been playing a little bit of it on the Xbox One, and I'm really enjoying it this year. Electronic Arts did a great job revamping their presentation, which I'm one of like 8 people that really cares about presentation, but they did a great job with it, and it's worth looking into if you are a hockey fan like myself. Thank you very much for checking out this and all of my episodes of Unsealed. I really do appreciate it. And until the next time, my friends, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you later.